I tried to set up my NEO-6M GPS using an FTDI adapter, and I could not get it to work. Hooking the ground, the plus 5, the TX and RX on here, and then connecting up using U-Blox U-Center, I would get an error in the binary console which stated non-genuine device found. Now, I don't know what that error is, whether it's just a communication error with my FTDI adapter, but I've found a way to connect up the NEO-32 and use that as an interface with the NEO-6M GPS unit. You need an ESC to power your NEO-32 whenever you have peripherals on it, such as a servo or a GPS. So once this green light starts blinking regularly instead of flashing fast, then you can connect it up. Once connected, you can take note of the COM port that you're using and the baud rate, which is 100,000, 15, 200. Connect up, and then go into the CLI, then type GPS pass through, hit enter. You see all this gibberish scrolling across your screen. That's from the GPS unit. So disconnect, close your clean flight, open up U-Center from U-Blox, connect to COM3. It should be the same that your NEO-32 is connecting up to. And then go View, Binary Console, and you'll see that it's blank. That's because your NEO-32 and your this U-Center is not talking on the same baud rate. Right now it defaults to 9600. You can go through your baud rates if you don't know what it is, and eventually you'll see a bunch of numbers and ASCII stuff pop up like this. See, I'm in the basement right now in my computer room, so I'm not getting a lot of satellites. You'll see one flash here every once in a while, but I won't get a Latin long here because I don't get a good enough signal in my basement. But I do get UTC, which is the Greenwich Mean Time. When I do get at least one satellite, like right there, you saw it flash. There's like one here that will normally link up. You see here you're getting some data coming across, but because I'm underground in my basement, I'm not getting a steady signal. If I was outdoors or upstairs, I'd get a lock on at least 8 to 9 satellites. In clean flight, I was getting a lock on 9 satellites consecutively in like the first 3 seconds of plugging my NEO-32 in. Go to View, View Messages, click on UBX, then CFG, and you want to check your ports. My UART1, which my GPS is using, is set to 1900. That is the speed that the GPS and the NEOs will talk back and forth to each other. You set this baud rate up in your U-Center config, and then you also go into clean flight and set it up. Since I'm utilizing soft serial ports on my NEO-32, I can only go to 19,200 baud. That's what's recommended. Once you set your baud rate, click send, and that'll send it to the unit. Then click on nav5, make sure your dynamic model is set to pedestrian, hit send. Then you can click on SBAS. This is your PRN codes. Since we're in North America, we would use WAAS. I just leave this set to auto scan, click send. And when you close this, it will want to save it again. And then to save all the settings, you click on config, and config, select save current settings, and hit send. Then you can close this and disconnect, close down your U-Center, unplug your battery, unplug your USB, Plug your battery back in after a couple seconds. Plug your NAS32 into your USB connector. Open up CleanFlight. Connect up. Right now you see GPS is lit up, so you know that it is connected and working. Right now I have UART1 is set to my USB port. If you disable this or set it to GPS, you basically bricked your NAS32, and then you'll have to get a little paperclip jumper and find the little boot jumpers right here and unplug all this, power it down, put the jumper in there, plug it into your USB, and reflash the firmware on there. It's a pain, but that's what happens when you disable your USB port, because you cannot get back into it without reflashing your firmware. So I have UART1 set as my USB connection. UART2 is my serial RX connection, which is my Spektrum satellite receiver, plugged into the top right here. Soft serial 1 are pins 5 and pin 6. Soft serial 2 are pins 7 and pins 8 on the input side, where your RC receiver inputs would go. You can also use channel 1 for your PPM, but I'm trying to use the serial Spektrum serial, which it works so far, but for soft serial you cannot go above 19,200 baud on your port. You have your serial RX set up for your Spektrum satellite. You have your DSMX Spektrum set to 2048. I have my GPS turned on. U-Blox protocol, auto detect for ground assist or whatever that is. It's just a protocol that it uses. North America is WAAS. I just leave it to auto. Your magnetic declination, you can look that up. They have a nice Google map that you can click right on your property or right where you live, and it'll come up at whatever the magnetic declination for your local area is. And then click save. Then on the receiver you see that my GPS is working and my Spektrum satellite is also working. So you can see that the switches are working, and whenever I move my sticks, these are moving. For GPS, I don't have any signals down here in my basement, so I don't have it yet. But that is how I worked around not using FTDI. I don't know if it's something to do with this FTDI from, it's a Creus GPS, it's a Creus FTDI, and I couldn't get them to talk. I swapped the TX and RX wires back and forth and tried all kinds of things. So this is how I am able to program my GPS.